This is the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Ever wish you could re-listen to your favorite interview or segment? Do you enjoy hearing older shows for the first time in years? Then the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less is just what you need. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode 87 of the best moments of the BBQ Central Show in 10 minutes or less. Today's a doubleheader. Some of the players of yesterday are not necessarily active, but the information they brought to the BBQ Central Show is always good and relevant. That being said, today's show, Greg visits with Larry Gain and Barry Martin, two great barbecue and grilling folks from bygone days. Let's get right to it. Here is Greg and Larry and Barry from September 24th, 2013.
Larry Gain and Barry Martin joining me here on the show. Welcome to the Cookout.com is Barry's website. Larry Gain is embersandflame.com, formerly of BBQ Grail. All right, so let me start with you here, Barry, on this one. And you kind of touched on this a little bit when we were kind of outlining some ideas and concepts to talk about tonight. And one of those things was grill snobbery. And I said, and I made no bones about it, I might fall into the snob part of the grill aspect of things. What do you mean when you talk about grill snobbery and maybe overcoming that aspect?
Well, I think anytime you get a group of people who really get into a subject, I don't care what it is, tennis, golf, baseball, football, hunting, there's a hierarchy begins to evolve. And if you don't have this, or you don't have that, or gee, you should do this, this kind of thermometer or that kind of controller, or use this kind of whatever. You're just not there. And I think companies, having spent 25 years in ad agencies, marketing products, we of course know how to exploit that and leverage that. You're not good enough unless you have that product. But the reverse of that is, I've seen some pretty amazing food cooked by people who have some skill sets on stuff that doesn't look like it should be a grill or a cooker. And in golf, what do they call it? The 30-day rule. You buy a new club, you spend a ton of money for it, and of course you play better. But what I see over and over again is these exorbitant costs for products that really aren't a whole lot better than the basic stuff that a guy can put together in his backyard. I mean, Larry and I both joked with each other that we've set up bricks and grates and cooked over coals right on the ground, and that does a pretty dang good job. So anything much more than that gets fancy. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing really well-designed products that absolutely deserve to get the money they charge for them because they're well-made and they're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm just saying the group that I work with, that I hope to help, are the guys who go in and the families who go in and they spend no more than $100 on a gasser, or maybe $60, $70 or less, $30 on a charcoal grill. That's the largest segment of the population, and those are the folks I want to help cook good burgers and good steaks and good chicken.
Larry, do you have a take on the snobbery aspect of buying grills and so forth?
Well, Barry takes it from that point of view, and I think my point of view is probably slightly different. And what really illustrates it is not too long ago, I had an opportunity to interview a fairly famous, at least on the barbecue circuit, individual who proceeded during the course of the interview to basically insult everything, every way I did something.
You personally?
Well, because a lot of the ways I do things, he said were the wrong way to do it. Now, I think I turn out pretty good food. People are happy. And so for him to say, I did it, I'm doing it wrong, is kind of counter to the whole philosophy or the whole lifestyle or attitude of barbecue, which is let's gather around the flame, let's enjoy each other's company along with some good food. And when we start to take that attitude of, well, the only way to do something is this way, is a particular way, we start to tear that whole attitude and philosophy apart. So what I'm hoping is that as barbecue becomes more and more popular, that we can get away from arguing about whether cooking something on a grill is barbecuing, and whether, this whole low and slow, if you have to use oak, you have to use hickory, it has to be this way, it has to be that way, we can't foil, all of those things, and just enjoy it for what it is, good food.
All right, so you've brought up an interesting second subject here. We'll get into that here in just a moment, but let me just kind of tie up that first debate pretty quickly, and it's this. Where I potentially see myself in grill snobbery is, it's not how you're describing what's barbecue or what's grilling, if you're using foil or not. For the guy that is buying that $100 gasser that Barry was talking about from a Lowe's or a Target or whatever, my concern, or I guess where my perceived snobbery is, if he uses it even a little bit, there's a good chance he might be buying one in a year or 2 years. If he doesn't cover it, if he just leaves it out, it's not going to be as well made to withstand the rigors of environmental changes, what have you. So he might be spending another $100 in a year or 2 years, where if you spend $600 on, no names please, nice grill, you're going to get a little bit more time, you're going to get a better cooking experience. Snobbery, maybe, but having a little bit more experience in this industry, sometimes spending a little up front gets you a little bit more on the backside of things.
I agree with both of you, because we've all got plenty of time cooking, and so we know that we want to get this particular cooker because we know those knobs aren't going to melt and come off, and we know those grates are going to hold up for a couple of years. And we could get into brand names and all that, and I will probably all be in sync on that. I'm really in sync with Larry, and I think that applies to that guy, to that family, that they might desire that better grill, but they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And so that $100 spent, or that under $100 spent, is what they got. And so my hope is that I'll be able to help them get the most out of it they possibly can. I mean, Greg, I'd hazard a guess that you and Larry and a half a dozen people we know could walk up to a piece of rust with one little bad burner in it and figure out how to make something on it. But the average backyard person doesn't. So I'm just trying to focus on them, engage them, find out what they're cooking on, and help them do a little bit better job. Then they'll get the bug, and then they'll go buy something, save their money, and buy something else. And before you know it, they'll be asking us to review their sauces.
Barry, do you have a take on barbecue and grilling and what's what, and the staunchness of some thinking that barbecue is this way, and this way, and grilling is two different? Let me simplify it. Barbecue and grilling, two different cooking methods. Do you subscribe to that anymore?
To put in your request for a future show, please contact John Solberg via email at johnjon@bbqcentralshow.com.
All right, you know what we do here right now. I'm going to ask you, are you following the Barbecue Central Show on social media? Do it. Head on over to @BBQ Central Show, Facebook and Twitter, /BBQ Central Show over on the Facebook. Give them a follow. You're going to love it. Do you have an idea for a best moment show? I would love to hear it. Shoot me an email, like the big man says, John, Jon, John at thebbqcentralshow.com. Can't wait to hear from you. I'll get it done. All right, let's jump right back into Barry and Greg from September in 2013.
Simplify it. Barbecue and grilling, two different cooking methods. Do you subscribe to that anymore?
Of course, technically, grilling is over high heat and barbecue is indirect heat. And generally speaking, there's wood involved with barbecue and not necessarily in grilling. Heat is heat, and whether it's convection, conduction, or radiant heat, that's what you're using, whether you're indoors, outdoors. And when you add smoke to it, you're going to get some smoke flavor, etc. The rule of thumb we always had on my forums were simply, as long as it's food safe, however you cooked it, if your family likes it, that's the right way to do it. And I just don't get that worried about it. With my audience, when you get into people who want to become, more of an aficionado, they want to follow a path and do things according to a certain technique or a certain style, that's fine. But in the end, does it taste good? Okay, let's eat it.
Larry, did you have any further expounds on the barbecue and grilling debate?
You know what? I don't make a differentiation between the two. Probably the only line I really draw anymore is don't turn on the crock pot, throw barbecue sauce in it, and call it barbecue.
Amen.
I'm going to draw the line there.
Absolutely. I would potentially be called hypocritical because for years I was staunchly grilling is one way of cooking, barbecue is another. But then I had a chat with Adam Perry Lang a couple weeks ago, and he used the term live fire cooking. I mean, it's not the first time I've ever heard it, but I guess that was the first time that it kind of dawned on me to, just drop the shenanigans of trying to dissect it all. And what we can all agree, whether it's liquid propane, whether it's natural gas, whether it's charcoal or wood, it's fire. It's a live fire. It can burn everybody up and kill everybody. And that's live fire. And that's what we're using in some form or fashion. So to me, that's how it's going to be founded, or however you want to call it. At least in my book, it's live fire cooking. Yeah, Greg, that you mentioned Adam. I've fortunately had the chance to be able, I think, to call him a friend. And it was a lot of conversations with him that really started changing my point of view. He calls grilling Yankee barbecue. And I think that's really, that attitude is really what started to change my point of view. All right, guys, so I can't believe how quickly the segment has evaporated through us here. We're almost through 17 minutes just like that. If I could briefly touch on kind of a new hot subject. Last week, the Barbecue Hall of Fame for 2013 was announced. You have Myron Mixon going in, George Stevens, obviously, of Weber, and Adam Perry Lang. Barry, if I could get your take on who's getting inducted, and if you have any issues with anybody going in this year.
I have absolutely no issues, and I promised that I would defer all comments on that to my esteemed friend and colleague, Larry Gain.
You can use those words together? Larry, your take on the 2013 Barbecue Hall of Fame class? Looking at this year's and last year's, the first one, I really have no real complaints about it. My only concern is I'd like to see another category, because I think that category that Myron and Johnny Trigg last year were inducted into is going to turn into strictly a competition type category for the Hall of Fame. And there are so many famous barbecue pit masters that deserve to be recognized. So maybe a veterans kind of category would be nice. I mean, we need to honor someone like Walter Jetton, who basically, LBJ's pit master, who for all intent and purpose invented Texas barbecue, or made it popular, or the guy that did the first 50-gallon drum smoker. Not an ugly drum smoker, but the old school one. So there's lots of people out there. Does Myron deserve it? You bet. I don't think anybody in recent years has done more to promote barbecue than Myron has. And I can't disagree with Adam Perry Lang at all. And how do you argue with Weber? I don't think you can argue with Weber. Great for the business entry. I don't have any problem with Myron Mixon going in. I do tend to agree with you, Larry, on making sure that if we're going to call it a pitmaster category, that we don't exclude or that we don't overlook people that aren't in competition. I absolutely agree with that. The category that I have a problem with, I had a problem with it last year, I have a problem with it this year, and it's not necessarily with the people, but it's necessarily with the people, is this celebrity category. So here's what you have. Last year, you have Guy Fieri. I will make no bones about the fact that I think he is absolutely unqualified to be in a barbecue Hall of Fame. Does he compete on barbecue? Yeah, maybe. I don't want to hear anything about the Motley Q crew bull crap. I mean, he's not out there cooking with those guys on the circuit weekend in and weekend out. I mean, it's just a proven fact. But celebrity, yes. If I walk down the street with Guy Fieri, 10 out of 10 are going to know him. Nobody out of 10 are going to know me. And unfortunately, probably 0 out of 10 are going to know who Adam Perry Lang is this year, and he's in as the celebrity category. That needs to be rectified, but I don't know how to fix that. Do you guys have any take? Barry, do you have a suggestion on that?
Well, you make a really good point. Who's getting the most face time on media, is where you get attention. So whether they're using somebody as bait to bring more people to the world of barbecue, I guess that's okay. But I'm kind of with Larry on this. I think celebrating the roots and the traditions and the guys and the women, too, who are, shoulder to shoulder in the heat every day. I have tremendous respect for people who don't compete, but, man, they cook some great barbecue. Anybody in any part of the country could probably pick out somebody who's been cooking, whole pig, or they've been cooking, steer, cattle, whatever, for a long time, and that's what they do, and that's good stuff. And maybe there's a way to recognize that. I don't know. Larry,
suggestion on the celebrity category?
Well, first of all, the category is celebrity / humanitarian, and I would suggest
Larry's upset that he wasn't nominated.
I think we've uncovered it. We've uncovered it.
No, that's not it. Not it at all.
It's the hairpiece, Larry.
Yeah. All right. Where was I? All right. So, Adam Perry Lang, you know what? I'll defend that choice more than I would ever possibly defend last year's. And then, as an example, I looked at Adam being inducted from the humanitarian standpoint. He just spent 6 weeks cooking barbecue in Sacramento on the backlot of Jimmy Kimmel's show to benefit a variety of homeless and food banks and things in the Los Angeles area. Most people don't know that, and I think that's the true idea of what a humanitarian is. Are they just gonna go out and pick people for the sake of getting publicity? They probably are, right? Nobody probably got them more publicity than Guy being inducted last year. Like, maybe it's a fact of life, but you're right. I agree with you completely, Greg.
All right, so I think there needs to be some things ironed out with that particular category, but things we don't need to iron out are the fact that we're going to have Barry Martin and Larry Gain perhaps back in a panel-style discussion sooner than later. Guys, even better than expected, you can find Barry Martin. Welcome to thecookout.com. Of course, Larry Gain can be found at embersandflame.com. Guys, really appreciate the time tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
You got it. There they are, Larry Gain and Barry Martin.
And there is today's show, episode 87 from September 24th, 2013. Don't throw a bunch of stuff in the crock pot and tell me it's raining. No, that's a different thing. Where was I? You want to hear this complete show? Head on over to thebbqcentralshow.com. There will be a link in the show notes to take you to the entire episode from this day. Sam, the cooking guy, was in, as well as Grill Girl Robin. So head on over to thebbqcentralshow.com. Check the rest of the show out if you want to. Appreciate it. Always. Until next time on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, I am your host, John Solberg, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.